So Hawks fans, keep it real. Did you bet for the Hawks to win once you
Come on
got
now. Yeah.
confirmation
Yeah.
early in the day that Trae Young was out due to a non-COVID illness to the point where he wasn't even traveling with the team? So hopefully he'll be better and ready to rock and roll tonight. But no worries. Sometimes, Jarvis, when a star is out, then that allows another star to be born, or for somebody to
Mm-hmm.
really just have a breakout game, or to solidify what we already knew. And we could give superlatives all across the board in that 123 to 105 win against the Bulls, right?
Yeah.
First of all, you do take care of business. The Hawks do. You get the season series split so that the Bulls don't have that in their hand, the season series win. And now you're 2 games up on them versus one, sitting in that eighth place spot, which was important because the
Right.
Raptors beat the Hornets. So you absolutely
Yes.
needed to take care of your business, but you did. And not only did they do it, taking care of their business, but Jarvis, even in the fourth quarter, when the Bulls had several attempts at a comeback where they got the lead down to 9, every single time there was a different Hawk who came to the rescue, whether it was a DeJounte Murray defensive play, or it was the Sadiq Bey 3, or it was Jalen Johnson. It didn't matter. Every single time, not only did a Hawk step up, Jarvis, but it was a different Hawk that stepped up. And it's funny because, like you said, was Jalen Johnson listening to us yesterday? Because we definitely called him out as
Yes.
one of our
Yes.
guys, along with AJ Griffin, just having a solid game.
Yeah.
Him to
Yep.
be great, just be solid, and Onyeka Okongwu doing his thing again. So before we talk about Bogdanovic and go to the bench mob, because you and I talked about that yesterday and how much they are getting back to form.
Yeah. I think this is the development piece is really starting to shine through. Um, because when you see the confidence these guys are playing with, Quinn's not even talked about how Sadiq Bey and how he's been pushing those guys to put those guys in the paint, and it was just a sight to see when Sadiq Bey saw, I think it was Kobe White was guarding him. He was like, man, what? Man, I'm about to
Right.
face you up. I'm about to
Right.
turn, go school. Let me go ahead and back this dude down really quick and show him what time it is, because y'all gonna have to change this lineup, Coach Billy Donovan. You gonna have to change this up because I'm gonna take advantage of this every time, man. You just saw it. It was time and time again getting into the paint. And I think what the Hawks ended up with 70 points scored in the paint. So when you think about that aspect, it's just like understanding figuring out what your advantage is, right, against this team in the matchup, and without your star player, right, and Trae Young, and then going out and saying, hey, this is what we're going to try to do. And then when you actually go out to the court, you have to execute, right? And then those guys were able to go out to execute that game plan. And it was just a beautiful sight to see those guys go out there and come up with a game plan with Snyder and go out there and execute that bad boy to the T. And then, of course, the guy that we call out, the guys that we've been paying attention to go out there and ball like Jalen Johnson did, T. Like,
Yes.
I don't know who this team is, but I'm just like, okay, can y'all add Trae back in here and still be the same team?
And
Like,
then,
that's what I'm looking forward to, T. That's exactly what I'm looking forward to against the Washington Wizards.
Yeah, and that's your next level. That's your next level of
Yep.
play, when you can insert your star who can take over a game all by himself, but you don't allow him to. Because last
Right.
night you saw vintage Hawks, you saw patent Hawks. They move the ball. There's beautiful spacing. Everyone knows their assignment. They understand it, and they actually make good on their assignment. That's what we
Yeah.
saw in every player last night. And you have to see that, because when you're talking about a team that has 6 players in double digits, 4 out of 5 starters in double digits as well, and you're talking about multiple players who are right on the edge of a double-double with rebounds or assists. Take your pick. DeJounte Murray, for example, could have been a double-double either way. He played that kind of game. So don't get caught up in maybe him having 17, 18 points. Look at the
Right.
whole stat line, because the box score and the whole stat line for every single player, that's what tells the story. The other thing is, Jarvis, I want to go back to something you said. In addition to the points in the paint, 70 points in the paint for the Hawks, they really handled the Bulls in the paint and handled them in a clean way. Nobody was in foul trouble last night. That is huge when you
Yeah.
think
That's
about Jalen
huge.
Johnson
Yeah.
and Onyeka Okongwu and some of the challenges that they would have in defending in the front court, right? But we didn't
Right.
see that last night. So when you start to see those things, maybe it won't matter necessarily this year in terms of, possibly getting out of the play-in or even getting out of the first round. But you made a great point in that this is a learning opportunity, a development opportunity, where we're starting to see these players on that bench be so critical to the Hawks being successful, and then having players on the bench like Bogdanovic, who had a game high 26 points, being able to go 5 of 10, I think from three like crazy, score the first 8 points of the game. So
Yeah.
he literally set the stage and established himself early and then was consistent throughout. And then to put Sadiq Bey in that starting lineup, like you said, and him saying, wait a minute, they're going to keep giving me this mismatch. I think I'll
Mhm.
take it.
Yeah.
Everybody knew exactly what was needed of them. And I think when you do that, here's something that we don't talk about as well. Then you give a guy like Clint Capella the opportunity to not have to overextend himself in a game
Yeah.
and then be exhausted as we're running down the stretch and trying to get into this playing tournament and make some noise. So I was seeing it, yeah, like you said, in the short term. And I'm excited because guess what? Guess who they did back-to-back wins against the last time they had back-to-back wins, March 8th through the 10th? The Wizards.
Yes.
And they did it in DC. So if
Yeah.
they could do it in DC back on March 8th and 10th, and they're bringing the Wizards here tonight, that makes me very confident. Like we said, we don't get overly excited and expect things, but it does make me confident about what we could see tonight at State Farm.
And you know what kind of brought that little feeling? I was like, all right, man, all right, y'all playing really well. So, when is it going to happen? And I thought that was going to happen, like going into halftime, right? They were up by 20. And then they
Yes.
went on, the Bulls went on an 8-point run right before halftime. I was just like, oh, boy, here we go. But sure enough, they went into halftime, came right back out in the third quarter, and they got right back on it. And I think that those are some of the little things that I feel like that are going to help this team. Not necessarily make us get expectations for this team. Those aren't coming back. But it make us feel good about them going into, like you said, this play-in tournament in these last 3 games to, hey, end the season on a 5-game winning streak. You go ahead and match your highest winning streak of
Yeah.
the entire season. So that's cool.
Right.
I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? So I think that this team is slowly working its way into some respectability, and I think that they want to be respected, and because the Chicago wasn't a team that that was flailing around. They were on a win streak. They
Right.
were pushing
Yeah.
towards being a legitimate playing tournament opponent. So I think that this was a good win for the Hawks, especially without Trae Young being on the floor. So I'm looking forward. No expectations. I'm looking forward to them, extending that winning streak tonight against the Wizards.
Yeah, and I also like the fact that we always have a conversation, and I'm talking about always. Every time we preview a game, you and I go down the list, and particularly we go and look at the other team's bench and says, "Oh dear, who's going to be the X factor tonight?" Kobe White was going to be that X factor. He was supposed to be that guy for the Bulls. He wasn't. I mean, he had a
Yep.
solid game, but he didn't torch the Hawks. That was another thing that made me excited because I felt like from a game plan perspective, and this is a shout out to Quinn Snyder, from a game plan perspective, okay, we're looking for that X factor assassin who's going to try to down us at the perfect moment where they can kind of go in for the kill, and they made sure that they neutralized him. And I think if that's something that we can see again from them, then they should be good to go tonight. We shall see down at State Farm Arena. But this is the thing, 404 day Jarvis, it didn't disappoint because the Hawks and the Braves won. So today you should
Yes.
be celebrating with a Built Bar as opposed to drowning your sorrows because both your teams got a dub. And you know what? It's an easy thing to do. All you got to do is go to built.com where you can find all of their latest and greatest flavors. So you guys know me. I like to rock with anything almond. But if you're the type of person who likes coconut or any of those I kind of call them exotic flavors, go for it. They've got bars. They've got puffs. They've got only 130 calories in a bar. Look, it's swimsuit season. You got to get your fine on.
No
Let
doubt.
Built Bar help you to get there, right?
Yeah.
So
Shirt
you
off
can
season. Yeah.
also, I know, right? Undress season. So you can
Yes. Let's
go
go.
to build.com and you can place your order. Or now you can even go to Walmart and you can get a box of Built Bar. It's 4 candy bars in a box, or you can get 13 in a box right at Sam's Club. So don't forget to go to built.com. 4 grams of sugar, not a bad look there as well or at all. And of course, 15 grams of protein. Again, built.com. It's healthy, it'll make you happy, and it'll make you whole.